Hey, what's up everybody, this is Strict501 and today I want to show you guys one of the highest damage builds currently in Division 2 after the Tidal Basin update. Now, this build was pretty much created by Inigo Montoya TV. I hope I'm pronouncing the YouTube channel correctly, and I'll leave a link in the description to the original video that showed this build off. Now, this build is super high damage, but it's also super unique because it's not just going for, critical damage, critical chance, all that type of stuff. It's actually going almost the complete opposite. You can only have 3 red in this build, and you're required to have 7 blue and 7 yellow, which is pretty much the complete opposite of those critical damage and critical chance builds. And there are a few things, such as on the ropes right here, and this right here, Unstoppable Force, that make this build so strong. Now, first, I want to go over my weapons. Now, for my weapons, I'm currently using the P416 assault rifle. In my opinion, this is one of the best assault rifles in the game, and I would recommend using either an assault rifle or an LMG for this build. They're both pretty good. For assault rifles, I'd say, the P416, the M16, or the TAR are super good. For LMGs, I really haven't tested many LMGs, but I know that the classic M60 with that massive amount of damage is also super good for this build. Now, the talents I'm using on this assault rifle are Optimus, which is the best talent for this build if you're using an AR. Unhinged is probably the best for LMGs, but this is weapon damage decreased by 3% for every 10 ammo missing from the magazine. So that's just damage increase constantly, especially with these high RPM firing assault rifles. You're always, pretty much low on ammo. You get through ammo so quickly that majority of the time you're going to have some damage increase from this talent. And percentage damage increase too, so it's a lot of damage. Allegro is going to be the best middle talent for pretty much any of these because it's just a damage increase, 10% fire rate, pretty good. The last talent, you can just go with whatever you want. I just got recharged in my 3rd roll. I don't think that one matters too much. So yeah, pretty much any of those assault rifles I mentioned, any good LMGs that you want, you can definitely have. Now, the mods I'm using for this AR is the Reflex Sight, so plus 20% critical range. It's a 5.56 AR, which I'd probably recommend for all the ARs. So the plus 10 rounds mod for the magazine, which helps a lot. Even though it's not the 30 rounds they used to be, that 10 rounds helps a lot. Now for the mod right here, I'm using the 5%, the laser pointer plus 5% critical hit chance. And the reason for that is I had no critical hit chance besides this. So I want to have some, so I'm still able to crit even though it's a really low chance. And I'm using the plus 5% damage to elite on the muzzle, which is just pretty much you're facing mostly elites, especially when in groups, doing challenging and heroic. So this is pretty much just a damage increase. So that's pretty good. Now for your secondary, I would recommend either the Chatterbox or the Merciless. Now I'm currently using Merciless for its holster talent. Brutality, while holster landing a shot has a 5% chance to deal plus 20% damage as explosive damage. So there's basically just a chance for one of your shots to do plus 20% and explosive. And it does show up as a separate hit that's explosive, so it does 20% of one of your hits and shows up as another hit as explosive. And if you're hitting 80k headshots, it can be a pretty big damage increase once you get it. Now, a lot of people use the Chatterbox for its holster talent, which is Blabbermouth. While holstered, reloading your weapon, and within 5 seconds after a kill, grants 20% fire rate for 10 seconds. Now, this is super good. I would say once you actually have this procced, it'll probably be a higher damage increase than the Brutality and the Merciless, but you do need to actually get the kill, so get the last damage on the target with Blabbermouth and then reload within 5 seconds to get it to proc. And usually doing team play and stuff like that, there's a lot less of a chance of you actually getting the kill. And I just like not have to worrying about having to reload right after a kill to get it. So Merciless is kind of more lazy, but it's still really big damage increase. And either of these weapons is going to be a damage increase. So I'd recommend one of these as your secondary. It really doesn't matter what the gear score is on the secondary because you're not really using it. If the main hand weapon is pretty much the only thing that matters what the gear score is, because the damage will go up. I think I can even go up quite a bit of damage getting a 500 gear score weapon. I don't think there's over 500 on Aura Tier 5, but I'm not certain on that. So go the highest damage gear score item or weapons you want to get. You want to get a 500 for your main hand. And my secondary, there is some secondary talents or some third tier talents or holster talents for your basically secondary weapon right here, or your sidearm, I guess. So if there's any you're looking for, you can just grab that. This really doesn't matter. I would recommend double barrels actually. In close combat, you see the damage. Double barrels actually can do a crazy amount of damage. Now for the armor. So for the armor, this is really where this build gets unique and requires some actually thought when you put into it. So as I said before, this build can only have a maximum of 3 red. It requires a minimum of 7 blue and 7 yellow, which I have 10 yellow, so I could change myself around. My build is nowhere close to being perfected, by the way, and it's still doing really good right now. So the helm, now the helm, you're just going to want a lot of these things, such as the helm, the holster, the knee pads, all that stuff. You're going to really just want to make sure you get your minimum of 7 blue and your 7 yellow, and make sure you don't go over 3 red. So the helm, I would definitely recommend trying to get hard hitting, which is 15% damage to elites. And for your set, Wyvern Wear can do some damage increase, but pretty much the sets are just kind of what you want. Now there are like a 10% increase, like this has rifle damage. I really need the AR damage increase, which would be massive. So whatever main weapon you're going to want, either, you know, your LMG or your AR damage increase. So the sets is just kind of what you choose, what you get. Attributes, as I said, you just want to make sure you're following how much you need for the red, blue, and yellow. And then the talent, I definitely recommend getting hard hitting on your helm. Now for the backpack, this is one of the important ones. You're going to want to follow, you know, your 3 different color stats on this as well. That goes for mods and everything as well. But the main talent you're going to need on your backpack is on the ropes. Weapon damage decreased by 25% while also goes around cooldown. This requires 7 or more yellow. This is why it requires yellow. Your secondary, if you have a secondary talent, I would definitely recommend getting hard hitting. This piece, my backpack, I can definitely get, especially with the Gila Guard. I don't really want that. My backpack, I can definitely get a massive increase, especially damage increase on this thing with a 15% damage to elites on it. Now with this, so your Q ability, you're going to want anything that activates quickly and is over quickly. So I've been switching between the Cluster Bomb Seeker Mine because it goes quickly, even though it's a lower cooldown, and then the Scanner Pulse. So the Scanner Pulse goes around you, but it lasts for 10 seconds. Now the Seeker Mine has a lower cooldown, but the reason I like the Seeker Mine is it actually does damage. And as you'll see right here, once it goes actually on cooldown, so it's on cooldown now, and that only took a few seconds to actually go on cooldown. So that's the reason I really like the Seeker Mines. But anything you're going to use as your first slot, you're going to want something that's used quickly and goes on cooldown quickly. Now for your secondary, I recommend using the Healing Chem Launcher. Now the reason for this is because, say I have 6 charges on it right now, which it starts with 3. If I use this, 1 charge and that just activated on the ropes. You don't need to use all the charges. It just needs to be charging a charge. So I have a mod on mine that gives me 3 extra charges, and I just need to have 1 charge down, and my on the ropes will always be active, so I can always have more healing if I need it. So those are the talents, basically, and that is on the ropes. It just gives you a 25% damage increase. Massive. Now for the chest piece, this is probably the most damage increase you're going to get for this build. Now for chest piece, I also have Gila Guard, so I can increase my chest piece by a lot. Now for chest piece, you're obviously going to want to keep in line with your 3 colors. One of the reds you can definitely get on the chest piece. I'd recommend it. I don't even have the highest damage roll, I don't think. I think this is the highest damage I could get on it, but I think you can get higher rolls with maybe these 2 being lower rolls, but you definitely want a weapon damage roll on it. That's super good. I got 11.5%. That's just a really good damage roll. And then the main thing you're going to want on is the talent Unstoppable Force. Killing an enemy grants 2% weapon damage for every 10,000 armor. Now this is why you require a minimum of 7 blue. Now, I don't know if this actually works correctly, if it gives you all of the damage it says it's supposed to, because I've seen some videos and stuff on testing this that it doesn't necessarily give you the damage it says it should. But if this, tooltip is correct, I have 210,000 armor. This should be giving me, 42, am I doing my math here? Like 42% damage increase. So even if it's not giving me all of that, it's still going to be a massive, massive damage increase. And again, with the mods, this is actually the last red I could do, so I just put a red in there since I had enough space for one. For the mods, you definitely, just keep going with what you need for your different colors. Now for the gloves, the third really important talent is going to be compensated. Weapon damage is increased by 15% when your critical chance is below 20. And this requires you only have 3 or less red. And with that red, you're not really going to have critical chance up to 20, especially if you're doing the correct red rules on your gloves and your chest piece. So this is just another 50% damage increase. Pretty crazy. I don't exactly know how high the percent weapon damage roll can go on your gloves. I have 10% assault rifle damage, which is pretty good. This set is okay. Accuracy is decent. My sets are really lacking in all of these. I don't really have any of the sets I really want. But yeah, this is the third super important talent. If you're using an LMG, get the LMG damage on it, but make sure you have compensated. Now for the holster, pretty much for the holsters, you're just going to want it to help fill in your different colors. And I got mine with 4 yellow, which is pretty crazy. That's 4 out of 7 yellow. I could even reduce some of this. Since I have 10, I could reduce a lot of this actually. Once I get a piece that I can keep with my colors, I would definitely recommend having a piece with hard hitting again, so 15% damage increase to elites. I would definitely recommend having that. I don't remember if you can actually get the 5% weapon damage on this, so that might be useful as well if you can get it. I'm not exactly sure on that, but I would definitely go for the hard hitting 50% damage to elites on this if you're within your colors. Then the braces, definitely make sure it's within your colors still. And you can also get hard hitting on one of these if you can get a roll for it. So that's another 15% damage increase. But I would definitely recommend having patience. So patience, after being in cover, this also requires 7 or more blue, which is why it's so good on this build, because you already have that. After being in cover for 3 seconds, armor repairs by 5% every 1 second. Now with having all this blue, you're going to have a lot more armor. And with having percentage armor regen every second after 3 seconds of cover, you get so tanky. You're repairing so much armor. I have 210,000 armor. I'm so tanky, and I'm just getting so much armor back, thousands and thousands of armor back every second with this. And with the chem launcher below you, you're just ridiculously tanky. And since you're in cover almost all the time, especially mainly in PvE, in PvP too, but more so in PvE, even if you're getting, tagged by challenging or heroic mobs, you're still repairing massive amounts of armor every second. So it just makes you so much more tanky, and you're able to stay up and, put out more damage on a more regular basis with this. And then just, as I say so much, keep in with your colors, because that's the most important thing. And that is pretty much the entire build. You're going to have to get used to it with keeping, your both your talents on a cooldown. It's a little bit weird to get used to that, but you're going to need to do that. And as you can see right here, you can also, especially since I have 6 charges, what I like to do is also just use a bunch of my chem launcher to keep it on a cooldown so I don't have to worry about it. And then I'm just destroying stuff. Right here, I think I was capping out at like 1.1 million DPS on these targets earlier, on the elite targets. See 1.1, almost 1.2 right there. And what you have to realize is on the targets, Unstoppable Force, which is your highest damage increase, does not proc on target dummies. I don't remember if anything else doesn't proc, but that doesn't proc, so that's what, like a 30, if it's reading correctly for my armor, that's a 40-some% damage increase. So, you're getting up to the 2 million DPS with having really high armor, since really high armor and skill power or skill cooldown reduction, since, you need these. So you're getting to, the DPS that the critical hit damage and critical hit chance builds are doing, but you have a lot more armor. You have this crazy patience procced all the time. You have a lot more armor. You have more skill power to use more mods in your abilities. So it's just one of the best builds in the game. Also, for specializations, if you have something that you can't control as well, or even a LMG, the sniper build is pretty decent. because you get the 30% increased reload time, and then you get the weapon stability by 30% and headshot damage by 25%. So this is really good just for those three. For ARs, though, I would definitely recommend going with the crossbow, since you just get a 15% damage increase all the time. And also, you're getting a bunch of more tanky abilities. So this is just increasing because you get 50% increased protection from elites, reduce the chance of critically hit by 20%. You also get the insanely overpowered incendiary grenade. So I would recommend, if you're using an AR, use survivalist. If you're using an LMG, even though you get 50% damage LMG damage in the grenade launcher, you could use this, but I would probably more recommend the sharpshooter, just because of the reload speed, stability, and the headshot damage is still going to be good. So yeah, that's pretty much the build. Subscribe if you want to see more Division 2 content. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a comment down below what you think about Division 2 as a whole. What you think about this build. This build is super fun, much more unique than the critical damage and critical hit chance builds. And thanks for watching.